you know, we still need the stories, whether we read modern novels or not. It's like, we need that connection, whether it's with our elders or with our kids. We pass these stories on as something precious. For me personally, it's probably just the unknown. I've always been drawn more to the unknown and whatever the beyond of normal life. So I would actually go out and look for these. We would go to haunted houses. We would go to haunted areas of the cities, see what was going on. Yeah. Now, whatever that comes from, I don't know, but it kept life interesting.
It was almost like an escape.
Definitely an escape. Family life was not a happy life, so that was an escape. Definitely.
Hey, welcome to the Floaties for Krakens podcast. I am your host, Camille Maria Costa, and it is a brilliant day to be monstrous. Well, hello, Cuttlefish. Welcome back to Season 3, Episode 6 of the Floaties for Krakens podcast. Hi, how are you? If you're new here, my name is Camille, and it's so lovely to have you. We are a podcast about the monsters in your head, but reclaiming them instead. So thank you for being here. I hope you have a snack or something to drink or something to munch on and enjoy, because this episode rocks. It is such a sick episode, and an episode that is truly near and dear to my heart. I had so much filming this episode, yes, but I learned a lot about myself, about people I love, about the neurodivergent community, and it means a lot. And I'm so thrilled to be able to explore the world of mental health with such amazing individuals. I'm recording this today on World Mental Health Day, which is such an important day, and it's so important to talk about this stuff, as hard as it is. So I was so privileged to be able to speak with Dr. Naz and Spencer from the Different Spectrums podcast, which is an incredible show that explores neurodiversity and mental health through the guise of movies, right? Movies and characters and storylines. And it's so brilliant. And I love their concept. They're both incredible humans that just really want to see, people feeling more comfortable about their brains and feeling more confident in who they are, especially BIPOC communities. And it's just incredible. It was such a joy, and I'm so lucky that they said yes to an interview, and it was a blast. And yeah, I'm just excited. As you can tell, I'm so excited for y'all to watch the episode. All of the amazing stuff about Different Spectrums and Dr. Naz and Spencer will be in the description box below. Buy some merch. They have some cool merch that may or not be modeled for you in this episode, so please check it out. Oh, and also, before I forget, there's also a list of resources that Dr. Naz and Spencer have graciously given to us for community members that may want to know a little bit more about their brains and potentially ask for some help. So thank you so much. And Dr. Naz and Spencer, just thank you for all the work that you do. You all are killing the game, and I mean that with the utmost respect. You all are amazing and changing a lot of people's lives. And you changed mine. So thank you so much for the conversation. But without further ado, because I keep talking, ladies and cuttlefish, let me introduce to you therapy for legendary monsters. Alrighty, well, hello, Dr. Naz and Spencer. Welcome to the show.
Hey, what's
Hello.
up?
It's lovely to finally meet you guys officially on camera.
Yeah,
Welcome.
you as well. Thank you for having
Yeah.
us.
Of
Hello.
course. No, I'm excited. I'm really really thrilled to have you all here. Your podcast is wonderful. I love watching it. I'm obsessed with the Last of Us episode.
Oh, that
So
was a good one.
It's really good.
I'm excited. I'm really excited to pick your all's brains today. But
Yeah.
before we get started, do you all mind introducing yourselves? Tell us who you are, what you do, and a little bit about your show.
Dr. Naz, you want to go first?
Shit, you were supposed to go first.
I'm
All
sorry.
right. Yeah. So, Dr. Naz, I'm a clinical social worker, doctorate in social work, master's in social work. He, him pronouns, cisgender male, Mexican, Lebanese. I like to tell people those identities. Uh, and so, I've been doing therapy for like 9 years. Me and Spence just started or decided to do a podcast. I think like December of like 21.
Yeah.
And Spencer was like, "Bro, we need to do this." And then I put it off. It was like October. And he's like, in January, like, "We need to do this." And so we created this podcast together. And one of the other running mates, one of my boys, since he had a baby, he don't do it with us no more.
You didn't want to
Sure.
deal with us before he had his child, but that's
I
fine.
know. He's not the biggest talker. He's yeah. Um, and so we got this podcast, and it's specifically based on visuals. So we use visuals in the scenes that I've been using in my therapeutic practice for years.
Yeah.
I have this thing. Many folks have it. Many folks on the autism spectrum have it, though. It's called hyperphantasia. So we have a magnificent podcast on hyperphantasia, and since that's the way my brain works, and Spencer's brain works, with like scenes, movie clips, lyrics. Like
Yeah.
there's certain things we'll just be like, "Bah!" Or I'll be talking to a student. I'll be like, there's that one scene from 1975. And they're like, "What the hell?" Um, and that's just how I see things, and I show students the clips, and then we'll process it, right? And so that's just what we do. Spencer was like, "Let's do a podcast," and we decided to start a podcast and do that. And so now we're going on our third year.
Oh
We're
man.
finally starting to get some real traction with guests.
Yeah.
Very professional individuals. It takes a long time to have a podcast to like do anything. So that's kind of the vibe. What we're doing. We're spreading mental health awareness. It's also I really enjoy being two brown men in this space and like promoting these things because it's mostly predominantly white women centric, and so it's hard for any men to heal because they're not seeing other men in those spaces, specifically brown men. And so I take it as an honor and a privilege to do that. But majority of it, we're talking about autism. We're just having fun.
Yeah.
So I actually just recently switched our podcast over, Spencer, from the category of mental health and wellness, and I switched it over to comedy just to see
Good.
if we get traction. Just to
Good.
see.
That's okay. And
Yeah.
honestly, people looking for a good laugh will get some really amazing mental health
There you go.
therapy tips
There
and
you
tricks.
go.
And I think
I
it's
don't
a
know.
good
We got to
idea.
get the boys in there somehow. I don't know.
Oh man.
Where you at, brown man? Where you at?
Come at us. So thank you for that intro for yourself and the podcast, Nas. It's supposed to just be about you, and then we get to the pod, and then
Oh,
me.
she said talk about the pod.
Whatever. Just talk about us both, and then the pod. Whatever. All right. So I'm Spencer, co-host of the podcast. Black and white, like I said before, like a inside out Oreo. This is me. And
Logic.
that's my truth. Yeah, Logic. He's my hero. So that's me. I'm also a big time nerd and marketer. So, professional and unprofessional. That's me. So
That's the
look
guest
how,
we like.
there you
So
go.
that's good.
That's how you do
There
an
you go.
intro. Short and sweet, homie.
That's real short and sweet.
I'm kind of curious. How did you all meet?
Oh, well. So I was going to school at St. Mary's University of Minnesota.
Yeah.
And I played basketball. And so me and Naz were both on the intramural team because Naz was a counselor there
Oh my
at St.
gosh.
Mary's. And so I was on the faculty team because I was hurt at the time. And so, yeah, we just started playing. And then one day we just started talking and just shooting the shit, talking
Yeah.
shit to other players on the court, of course. And we just have formed a bond about talking shit and eating food. So,
That's it.
yeah.
I remember I looked deep into his eyes and I said, "You want to get some Chinese food?"
And I almost cried. I really
He
did.
did. I presented him one egg roll, and I was like, "Will you marry me?"
What?
But that sounded a little
What?
weird.
So what? No, he
We
didn't.
both
He didn't show me his egg roll.
Oh man.
like that was a visual. Okay, moving on.
And 3
Pet
years later,
raccoons in
you're
here?
here.
Yeah, it's
Well,
been a while.
we actually met probably around like what 2019, 18, something like that.
Yeah, it was 17 or 18.
Yeah, something like that. So we've been friends since, and then yeah, once after COVID happened, we were just like, let's do a podcast. We probably should have got a little bit more ahead because podcasts were like huge back in
Huge during
the
COVID.
COVID times, and that probably would have boosted us up a little bit more.
Yeah,
But hey, here we are now, and we're doing great
everyone
things.
padded their stats during COVID. Those
It's
bastards.
true. It's true.
No, I think, there's a right time for everything. I think you guys are clearly touching a lot of people in a beautiful way, in a hilarious way. I don't know. I think like the concept of your show is so brilliant, and it makes mental health more accessible for people that
Yep.
might be afraid of it or just don't have access to it, right? Don't have the language or the knowledge to be able to talk about that stuff. And movies, right? Television, characters, like being able to associate yourself with something,
Yep.
man, it's life changing. It's life changing if you don't know what's going on in your little brain.
Yeah. I will also say, Naz, do you want to talk a little bit about like some of the things that we have in our link tree that could also help people out if they are going through anything?
Oh yeah.
Please.
So obviously we have the show, right? And we're talking about scenes and visuals relating it to therapy. And then, we talk a lot about, men's health, but also health in all ways. But in the link tree, we got a bunch of goodies in there. And they're all free because I believe in accessibility. Like it was free for me to get this shit. Why would I charge you? Where you see a lot of therapists out there. I mean, I'm not hating, but a lot of them are charging. And a
Yeah.
lot of people would tell you should charge. But I'm like, but now you just gatekeeping from people that can't get to stuff, and then you hustling people, whatever.
Yeah.
So in the link tree, you'll see a bunch of goodies in there, screeners for ADHD, autism. OCD. It's all in there. Hyperphantasia. It's all in there. It's all free. There's a bunch of different readings that you can get in there too. So there's a bunch of antidepressive stuff. There's a bunch of stuff I recommend any therapist to read. There's a bunch of books in there too about autism or neurodivergence. A lot of them, not a lot of them, but a good many of them are written by the guests that we've had on.
Oh, awesome.
Some of them are like famous as hell.
That's great.
Yeah, we've got tons of psycho ed in there. I've listed hundreds of apps that people could use for anxiety, depression, OCD, all of it. Like I just dumped it all in there, and I was like, hey, people will look at it. It's free. I mean, check it out. And we went from there. So thanks for plugging that, Spence. Because anyone's listening to this that's looking for something, like I literally just send this Google Drive. It's just my brain. But I send the Google Drive to all my interns. Like, here's the crap. If you need it, use it, give it to clients. There's worksheets, coloring books in there. Like it's all free.
That's
some of it is
wonderful.
pirated, So,
But it's free, so
Yeah. You may get a virus, but it's fine.
But
virus.
are you gonna feel better? Yeah, you will. So it's okay.
You might get autism,
Whoops. Oh well.
I just had chicken tenders, so here we are.
There you are. I just had chili for the third day in a row.
That's good. That's good.
And you're eating, and that's wonderful. So that's all that matters.
That's a good pivot. Thank you, therapist.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, and you all can talk about, when I ask this question, whatever you feel comfortable with talking about. But I'm curious, what on your personal journey inspired you to kind of explore the world of mental health, especially in such a, public way, in such a public format?
Yeah. I mean, for me, it'd probably be just being friends with Nas for as long as I have, and just picking up on a lot of things that he kind of dishes out, because he has a lot of great things that he talks about, even just in his personal life. And so really taking those things and taking them to heart. And then I don't have any background in mental health. Just want to point that out also. I've also never had therapy, or at least nothing I can like remember, maybe from when I was younger or anything like that, but never had therapy or anything like that. But at the same time, just mental health and just making sure you're living your best life is something that's very important. And I'm glad I can kind of talk about it and then relate it back to movies and shows, because I love watching movies and TV shows, and I love just kind of just having different quotes and stuff from different characters and everything like that. And so I'm glad I could really combine two things that really matter a lot to me. So
Yeah,
Yep.
it's a perfect
He,
fit.
he definitely is like more of the encyclopedia because the other day we were talking to a guest and I'm like, I got no freaking clue on who these people they are, what they're talking about. They're just like, oh yeah, I know all them. I'm
I
like,
said it just like that too. I know all of them. I swear. I
I
swear.
know all them white peoples.
No, they're the good ones. They're the good
Oh
ones.
my
I
god.
hope you said it just like that.
Oh,
He
I
did.
sure did.
He sure did. So my journey in mental health, it was an accident. I was supposed to be a physical therapist.
Hmm.
Couldn't get into school, as many of my guests know, our guests know. Couldn't get into school. And then I was like, hey, I got to make money. And so I decided to do the master's program in social work instead of the doctorate in physical therapy. A lot of folks know that I play collegiate football, work out, exercise a lot. I have this fascination just with muscles in general.
Yeah.
I can get into that. You know, they just look pretty. you know,
I
and
love it.
physical therapy is just massaging them. You know, I can't. Just to touch one. It's good
I
I
love
didn't go into
this.
that job because I was gonna cancel. So now I just massage people's brains.
Oh,
Oh, that's wonderful.
no, it's not.
It
It's
is.
not.
It's a wonderful image, I think.
There you go. Um,
It's terrifying.
so I went into that and kind of loved it. Didn't want the responsibility of some of the things that I was told I had the responsibility of for being like a male, a large brown male,
Hmm.
a large cisgendered straight brown male. Like it just adds up. My professors like really got on me. A lot of magnificent black women that are like, you have to be better, and this is what you represent and stand for. If you want to truly save people's lives, this is what you're going to do.
Hmm.
So many of those talks happened, and wanted to work in K through 12, but I realized I couldn't handle it because it was just too traumatic for me with my own experiences, and they're just too
Yeah.
young and innocent. It's just too much.
Yeah.
Way too much. I was re-triggering all the hyperphantasia and things. Is too much. So then I ended up lucking out, and I ended up working in higher ed. Been working in higher ed since 2016, and that's it. And then through there, though, began the autism stuff, and then I think probably 2020, I was like 2019. I'm like, I'm pretty sure I'm autistic.
Yeah.
And then my supervisor's like, no, you're not. And I was like, I'm pretty sure I am. And then I moved here to Purdue, met some friends. They're like, you're autistic as shit. And I'm like, thank God. Everything makes sense. And so the podcast is for mental health, but it's always the autism flavor and vibe in it because it intersects with so many different things in the world that if you're actually talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion, if you don't have this disabilities, but specifically just autism in there, then you're actually not being diverse at all.
Hmm.
And it's just cannon fodder to make yourself look good because it's more than just race and gender and religion. And in fact, if you know what autism is, then it impacts race and gender and religion and mental health issues, everything, trans issues. It's all in autism.
Yeah.
And so I do a lot of lectures and talks about that on college campuses too.
That's
But
wonderful.
so there's some stuff there. So I just happened to fall into it
Yeah.
because literally this is why. Because I couldn't spell or read good. If I would
Yeah.
have got better grades on my papers, then I would have had closer to that 3.8, 3.9 needed to get into the doctorate program. But
Yeah.
since I have dyslexia, my paper sucked and I never edited.
Yeah.
And so that always got me like a C on papers, so which always got me a B plus in the class. Shit happens.
Yeah.
It works out. Doing okay.
Clearly, you're doing amazing.
Doing okay. I ain't dead yet.
And I think that's a true measure of life at this point. Like, I didn't die, so there you go.
So yeah. And what about you? It said that you got a master's as well.
I
And
do.
yeah.
Yeah, in folk studies, in folklore.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Yeah.
what I'm sure people already know this about your podcast, but we don't. So what
Yeah.
got you into like pivoting into that?
Yeah. Well, I, growing up, my dad's from Mexico. And when I was very little, he used to tell us, all the scary stories as Mexican parents
Yeah.
do, like La Llorona and El Cucuy and all of these terrifying narratives. And I was always so scared, but I don't know, I felt safe in the moment, like with my brother and me and my dad, and we would be talking about them. And those stories kind of always stuck with me. And I always felt safe with them. And it wasn't until I was in undergrad, I accidentally took a folklore in the media class. I didn't
Right.
know folklore was a thing. I didn't know you could
Yeah.
pursue something like that. And I wrote a paper. My favorite human in the world is Guillermo del Toro. I love
Oh yeah.
Guillermo. I love
Yep.
his narratives. I love his stories. And Pan's Labyrinth is my favorite movie.
Mm.
So wrote a paper all about that. I was like, oh my god, I can't believe I can talk about this stuff. And that's when they were like, hey, just so you know, we have a master's program. I think it would be really cool if you tried it. um Long story short, in the degree I explored, my focus was narrative and how scary stories and horror are kind of a tool for survival for a lot of different cultures and a lot of different
Yeah.
marginalized groups, but mine specifically. And so I explored La Llorona, the weeping woman. And as I
Saw
was
that.
writing it, I realized, during the pandemic and all of this stuff, right? Like many of us, we had the worst time in the world. And I realized I had pure OCD, and I didn't know what that was because we never talked about mental health growing up. We weren't privileged enough. We don't have money, just
Okay.
like you all talked about, right? We didn't have money.
Yep.
I still don't have money. You know what I mean? And I started to learn that through monsters was a way that I was able to kind of put pen to paper and identify certain things, identify sadness or depression or
Yep.
anxieties or poor thoughts or intrusive thought. Like there was just so much I was actually able to teach myself for free, through monstrosity and through monsters. And the
Monstrosity.
individuals that I interviewed felt the same. It was a very powerful interview, interviewing my dad, because just like how you talked about, right? Like BIPOC men, and my dad specifically, it's still to this day, he doesn't admit any mental health issues that he has, and that's okay.
Yeah.
It's his prerogative, it's his life, absolutely. It's a terrifying fucking thing, right?
Yeah.
But I remember asking him about La Llorona, and I remember him telling me, she was a very sad person, and I feel that way sometimes. And I cherish that forever. She was a tool for me to talk to my dad about something really hard. And so, yeah, that's kind of how this show kind of came to be. I love
There you
learning
go.
about people's monsters, and I love learning, why do you like them? You know what I mean? How did you get introduced to them? Or
There you
sometimes,
go.
right, some monsters are actively terrifying for people, right? But I'm curious as to why they're in their lives, right? Why are they a big part of you? So that's extra why I'm excited to talk to you both, about the
Nice.
monsters that you chose.
Yeah,
So
that's awesome.
anyone dealing with anxiety or OCD, pure OCD, obsessive compulsive personality disorder, OCD PD, narrative therapy, which you described, is going to be one of your better tactics to combat it and fight it.
Hmm.
Things such as eating disorders as well. Narrative therapy is going to be one of the better remedies for it.
Yeah.
And you can do that through writing, but you can also do it through drawing and art and like music. And so I got some students now that are really gifted through art, and she says like getting choked when I get these thoughts. And I did. She did one of these, and I said, "Damn, you Darth Vader now?" Yep. And I got her drawing Darth Vader. She's gonna come back to me next week, and she's like magnificent, bro. Spence, she showed me her
Oh,
Darth Maul drawing.
Mhm.
I was like, bruh, you
yeah.
did this?
That's good.
As I love working with my clients, especially my neurodivergent clients. But
Yeah.
yeah, magnificent. I'm glad that you just said that. So I just wanted to highlight that for
Yeah.
anyone dealing with those thoughts and feelings. What you just described is probably one of the go-tos.
I
Yep.
didn't know. See, I'm
Oh,
learning.
that's
I'm writing down stuff you guys are saying today too.
oh,
So
that's a go-to. Narrative therapy for OCD and anxiety is one of the go-tos, especially if
wow.
you're not the best like at combating your own thoughts.
Yeah.
Then putting pen to paper is going to be one of your go-tos.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
It's nice to kind of take things out of here and put it physically somewhere.
correct.
Yeah.
I've had where OCD were like years and years, and then as soon as we start drawing stuff, you're like, oh yeah, I'm good. Like,
Oh,
what? We drew
that
one
makes me want to
cartoon.
cry. That's beautiful.
Like one cartoon, I'm good. I'm still
Yeah.
bipolar and OCD, but I'm good with
But it feels
OCD now.
okay. Yeah. Look at this
I'm
drawing
manageable.
though.
Yeah, look at this flower. Oh,
Yeah.
that's a good flower.
That's a nice one. Yeah.
I love
That's a good
that.
one.
That's great. Well, I'm curious. What is your all's relationship with the world of the spooky?
Spence?
I'm not. I guess I'm not really in tuned with the spooky,
Yeah.
because I'm not. I don't do a lot of like horror films. It's just not my bag.
Yeah.
Haven't been for all my life, but I do appreciate all the characters that have come out of those like universes and stuff like that. And I still like anytime anything scary is about to happen, I always put like a finger like in my ear so I don't hear it as well.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
yeah, yeah. Anytime I'm always like this. I'm like, okay, well, something's about to happen.
you go
Yeah.
full
So,
autistic. Nah, I'm not listening.
no, it's not there. So like, and that was one of the reasons why I couldn't really like. I was kind of scared to watch. Was it Multiverse of Madness? Because I thought it was gonna be like scary as hell because Sam Raimi did it,
Oh,
and of course he does
yeah.
Evil Dead. So I'm like, oh, he's about to go all out scary in this movie, and he didn't. He didn't. I brought
No.
earplugs and everything for no reason. That was fun. But yeah, so I can appreciate all the universes that kind of the spooky world brings, but at the same time, I'm not a big like consumer of it.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Back in the day, I used to watch it all the time when I was a little kid at home by myself.
Yeah.
So you're talking like all the Jason stuff, Freddy Krueger stuff, all the
Sure.
Chucky stuff, all the Pet Cemetery stuff. There was them. Toy Soldiers wasn't a scary movie, but this shit
Oh,
was a scary movie.
Toy
But
that
there
was
was
Soldiers.
scary.
Toy Soldier was
That was
scary,
a
bro.
scary movie.
But then there was the little ones with the little puppets, and he had the one with the screwdriver on his head. Where it was a little. I always forget what it was called. I think it was called the Puppet Master.
Maybe.
I don't remember that.
There was like 5 movies, and then there were all these little puppets, and then one of them had his head that would drill into you. Terrifying shit.
Yeah, that's
Um,
terrifying.
Yeah.
But I remember being with my dad before he got locked up, and he'd be watching. What's that old? Is Larry King Live? He'd be watching Larry King Live late at night, and he would be in his recliner, and legs up, and he'd be passed out, and I'd be crawling under the recliner just playing around. This is when I was small, Spence, real small. But then Tales of the Crypt would come on. So that was my introduction to scary stuff, was Tales of the Crypt.
Yeah.
And then Nickelodeon, had all that scary stuff in it too, right back
Oh,
in the
yeah.
day. What was that one show that was terrifying? It was late at
Goosebumps.
night.
So many of them.
It was the Nickelodeon wall around the campfire. They would tell
Is it
stories.
Who's Afraid of the Dark? Or is that
Maybe that might have been it. Yep.
maybe?
That was it. Yeah.
Yep. But then I didn't watch it later in life because it was too much, and the hyperphantasia when I was a kid was
Yeah.
like destroying me at times.
Yeah.
So now I usually watch only comedies. That's pretty much it. Not too
Yeah.
many thrillers, not too many horror movies. But last night I decided, because I was watching a lot of nostalgic stuff. Spencer, I told him, I said I watched The Sandlot, Heavyweights, and Cool Runnings in one day. And then I was like, I've been meaning to watch Scream 5
Right.
and 6.
Right.
So I watched 5 and 6 last night. And the ratings are bad because it is kind of bad, but it got me a few good times though. I was like, damn, bro, they stabbing people in the face now, man.
They don't care anymore.
Bro, they
out the
in the
window.
eye, in the mouth, like,
Yeah.
dude, it's actually kind of fucked up.
It's
yeah.
horrifying.
Horrifying. It is
Yeah.
horrifying. And I was screaming to Spencer like via Snapchat, like, no one has a gun.
No,
Even the police officer doesn't have a gun.
No.
Get the out of here.
Yeah, I know.
But
the movie would be
so-
over.
I know it'd be over so
No
quick.
storyline.
I kind of want to
Like,
watch.
oh, he's
Pet
dead.
Sematary.
There he is. Oh, it was that
He's
guy.
dead.
Okay, cool.
He's dead. We got the white guy.
We got him.
We got him. So this was a little bit harder to come up with some stuff for you for monsters, but like I got some monsters and funny stories, but not a ton in recent days. But my clients will recommend stuff and then I'll watch it. Shit, man, my client had me watch this terrifying shit. I watched it. Oh man, I forgot what it was called. It's a red background where technically you go into Spencer. I remember telling you about it. They end up renting out this Airbnb, but then there was like this monster in the back and the bottom. But that was technically like this ancestral thing, and it was about who's the real monster. The main one of the main villains was the guy from New Girl. The love interest was Zoe.
So many.
Oh
so
my God,
many.
I know.
So many love interests.
Bro, I hate the fact that she had me watch that shit. I was so mad. It was disgusting in so many ways.
Oh, well, yeah.
but it was one of these new age. This is what they said in Scream. It's the new age horror where they make you think and it's meta and
Yeah.
all that. It's not
Yeah.
just a slasher. Because the thing was, is who was the real monster? The monster that was killing people,
Mm-hmm.
the
Yeah.
monster that imprisoned her and kept her in this basement,
Mm-hmm.
or
Yeah.
was it this landlord that was a piece of shit and letting people die? Like, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
who's the real monster? Uh, I
Yeah.
fucking hate scary movies, man.
And that's
I
okay.
I have to watch a comedy after I watch every scary movie.
Yeah.
Like I watch a scary movie and I'm like, okay, let's put on some stupid real quick.
Let's put on Good Burger too.
And what a
Look at that.
perfect follow-up to
Right?
that.
Yep.
Well, see, I think, what you said too, that's the kind of fun thing we like to explore here is like what actually is a monster, And we've had so many different arrays of what people consider to be one. It's been so much fun kind of learning about different characters that people identify with. So I'm kind of curious for both of you. What do you all think is a monster?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I guess it's something that puts fear into others.
Yeah.
And kind of going with that, they also are like tormented themselves.
Mhm.
A lot of the time, a lot of the horror films and a lot of the characters, like they've been through something to where they want to get like revenge on the world for whatever happened to them. I mean, like with Jason drowned, Freddy Krueger, well,
Yeah.
he was like a pedophile, but he was also yeah, and it was burned to death in
Yeah.
a factory. And then you also have like Chucky, who's like a serial killer, just put his soul into like a doll somehow. So it's always and like kind of Naz was saying, it's like these new wave horrors where it's like it makes you think a little bit more. But I appreciate the old school ones a little bit more because
Yeah.
it wasn't just about like kind of seeing if there's a message there. It's also about just like you can make some creativity on your own and be
Hmm.
like, oh wow, this character must have been going through this and this is why they're kind of taking out in the world. I felt like you could really do that with those characters. And same with like Darth Vader and things like that. I mean,
Yeah.
just so many characters that would be able to give you a reason to really think about their backstory, but then also, um, you know, then they were just badass too. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I think
Yeah.
those are some great descriptions. Yeah.
Monsters in my head would be like the character I see is like this big bad, big scary dark thing behind you, right? And it would be like this. I can't picture nothing other than like a scary looking cookie monster.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. That's what it is in my head right now. Uh,
just a
yeah,
large
big,
cookie
a
monster,
large ass cookie
Really
monster
or
that's
big.
is it a
coming in.
cookie? Is it a
No,
cookie, or is it the
no,
blue cookie monster?
the blue cookie man.
All right. Just making sure. I just wanted to make clarify for all the people listening right now.
Yep,
Just wanted to see that.
there you go. And so, but monsters, the definition for me would be something that's perpetuating like harm or violence.
Mm.
Because if you look at family members, right, I would say that some parents are monsters.
Yeah.
I would say some kids are monsters and the way they treat people.
Yeah.
Me and Spencer did a podcast with a director of a documentary about disabilities, and one of the kids was they were actively harming this young woman that couldn't walk,
Mm.
and they didn't do anything to her, but what they did was actively make it to where she was going to fall or hurt herself or
Right.
embarrass herself. I would say those kids were monsters. So anything with like maliciousness, I can call you a monster.
Yeah.
You at least were a monster in that moment. Maybe you're not your whole identity is, but at that certain moment and period of time, you were. Uh, but normally we think of monsters, we think of scary, the boogeyman, right? That thing that's going to get you. But in actuality, there's monsters around us every day.
Hmm.
And again, the question is, do they interact with you? Well, hopefully not. Well, what's that old metaphor? A lot of us are just sheep, kind of hanging out, right? And there's a lot of wolves out there that look like sheep, but they're actually wolves, and they're perpetrators of violence, maliciousness, mental, physical, emotional,
Yeah.
financial, sexual, any of it. And then you got folks like me that are like these little sheepdogs that like I can see it, and I'm gonna bark at your ass and make sure you stay away from the herd.
Yeah.
The client was asking me about my name, and then I forgot what it meant, and then my name is based off the in Arabic is the protector and warner of people,
Hmm.
and so I take that very serious. That thing, the protector of people. So monsters, something that's probably inflicting pain or harm.
Yeah.
The question is did Spencer was saying, do they enjoy it, or is it like just a reverberation of something in the past that they keep perpetuating?
Yeah.
If they enjoy it, then I'm like, bruh, you're a monster.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That
a
active
couple different
nature.
things.
That's
Yes.
interesting. I do love that both of you, though, in your definition, kind of explored how human beings can be just as terrifying, if not more, like you know what I mean, than creatures, for
Mhm.
example, or these characters and stories. But I also think it's interesting that you both mentioned backstory, right? You mentioned what made the monster. How did the monster come to be, right? Because
Yeah.
a lot of the times, right, that's where you see it sparked, is in their storyline, and that's the most fascinating part, and arguably the most terrifying part, right? And so that's interesting. I'm excited. I'm really excited to explore both of your brains today. Um, but first off, we're gonna start with Spencer because I'm very curious. Spencer, please tell everybody who is Beetlejuice.
Ah, here we go. All right. So Beetlejuice is from the great mind of Tim Burton. Um, some would say a kooky mind, which
Some.
most.
Yeah. He's
Um,
out there. Let's
he's
be real.
out there.
He's autistic. So
What? What? That's crazy.
yeah.
He literally like says, "I hate Disney." So
Yeah.
he was an animator for them and then just left. But anyways, um, so Beetlejuice, he is a ghost and a mischievous one at that.
Yeah,
Um, he was in the film Beetlejuice, obviously, and going to be in the sequel movie with
that's
Michael
right.
Keaton
Correct.
coming out soon. I don't know when. But for Beetlejuice, yeah, so he's like a ghost and he's trying to really be like a trickster, and he's very like a silver tongue kind of person. So
Yeah.
for him, he just what I love about him overall is just the fact um, that he has so much arrogance in what he's doing, and he just has no type of like, oh, this is wrong at all. He's
Yeah.
just playing like, I'm trying to get what I need out of this world, and I'm trying to make sure that I can get out. So he makes people say his name 3 times in order for him to get out of like the ghost realm where he's at.
Yeah.
And then you have to say it 3 times to put him back. And so, like, the whole movie is pretty much just about him trying to escape and get into this human world where then he can take over. And then, the family is just trying to get rid of him. Also, Winona Ryder, who got her name from Winona, Minnesota. Shout out to Winona Ryder.
Who's also going to be in the sequel.
Exactly. Exactly.
That was a beautiful interpretation. Spoilers, everyone, if you haven't seen Beetlejuice. It's an amazing film. And I love your description. And I'm curious, what do you, if you don't mind elaborating, what you mean
Yes.
by silver tongue?
So so anytime he's really trying, pretty much like he's like a con artist pretty much, right?
Yeah.
Any situation, he's going to try to get out of it by talking instead of just, physically doing it or anything like that. No, he's going to talk his way out of it. And so he's very quick with his words, and no matter what situation, he can always talk himself out of it, even though people like don't believe him. They're like, you're gross, dude. Get away from me. Like, what
Right.
is it?
Right.
But anyways, he always just tries to get out of any situation he's in
Mm-hmm.
by his speech, which I love because so many people wish they could have that. They wish they could,
Mm.
speak their mind in a way
Yeah.
that could get them out of certain situations. And I mean, I've been in that myself where like, like somebody wants you to do something that you're just like, I'm not really comfortable with doing that. But then all of a sudden, you're doing it anyways because you don't want to upset them or anything like that.
Yeah.
I love the kind of like that ambition of just like, no, I'm going to do what I want to do. But, obviously he's doing it for his own self, but
Yeah,
sometimes,
sure.
yeah, you wish you could have that for at least yourself and then others, so that then you're not getting like stepped on.
Mm.
Like
It's
I was gonna say he reminds me of Better Call Saul. Then
Yeah,
Saul
yeah.
Goodman, shut up.
Who was also a con man before he became a lawyer.
That is
So
Correct.
correct.
and was a
Yeah.
con
I'm
man
a good
during when
lawyer.
he was a lawyer.
Yes,
So
the whole movie's a comment. Yeah.
yeah. He's pretty much a con man the whole time. But he tried to go straight. All right, he tried to go straight. He tried to be, not a con man anymore. But he just went back to his ways. He just went back
I've
to his
tried to go straight. It's
Oh, here
it's
we go.
just it's hard.
Yeah.
This man's got some thick lats. Look at that lat on that guy.
All right,
That's
put
some
your egg roll away. All right.
Oh my
Oh my
god.
god.
Pause.
And delete. Oh my god. I see, speaking of gods, actually, I think it's interesting how you said he's very much like a trickster god.
Yes.
Which is sick.
Loki.
I had never thought about it that way. And
Mhm.
trickster gods, I know, Naz, I know you talked about also this idea and this concept, right, of being there to guide people, to ward people from evil, right? And in many cultural narratives and legends, right, trickster gods are there for that reason, to protect or to kind of deviate, right, to like trick the bad people into going away. Like if you think of Anansi, right, um, the spider trickster god who
Okay.
saved many slaves in so many different cool ways. That's a huge narrative and a legend. But I think it's interesting to think of the trickster kind of stereotype in Beetlejuice land,
Oh yeah, I know.
you know? Because he is, I had never thought about it, but you're right. He's incredibly confident and says what he wants to say to do what he wants to do.
Yeah.
But of course there is that underlying, you're being a little selfish. You're being a little bit
Yeah.
egocentric a bit.
Yeah. He's trying to I mean, he is the antagonist of the movie, right? And
Yeah.
that's what he's supposed to be doing, right? He's supposed to be that thing. And that's why I think so many people like kind of gravitate towards him and towards other characters that are like that. I mean, look at Loki. Loki
Yeah.
was the same way. I mean, he was supposed to be the evil guy that everyone's supposed to hate, but everyone loves him
Mhm.
because he has just such a gravitas to him. That goes to the acting as well. I mean, Michael Keaton did
Yeah.
a fantastic job with Beetlejuice, and same with Tom Hiddleston, right? Hiddleston.
Yep, you're right.
Tom
For
Hiddleston.
Loki.
Yes, and so they bring such uniqueness to their characters, and we're supposed to not like them. We're not supposed to really like these characters, but for some reason they really gravitate towards us, and because maybe it's something that we want to be more of. And I mean, look at how Loki turned out. I mean, now he's like a hero, and everybody is just like, wow, I wish that we could have more of him, but
Yeah.
that's just kind of how it goes, I guess, when it comes to like these certain antagonists.
Yeah. They become these like anti-heroes for
Mm.
us because, and I love that you said they do things that we don't have the confidence to do. I know you mentioned like speaking up for yourself, right? Or just saying a simple no is so hard. It's such a hard thing to do. And,
Yeah.
it is conflicting to be like, I identify with a monster. But of course, this is the show where we're like, it's kind of sick. It's kind of
Like, yeah.
cool. You know what I mean? It's interesting. I love that Beetlejuice is one of your favorite monsters. What, and you also mentioned when we were talking about it initially that you have a fascination with Tim Burton.
Oh,
What is that fascination?
yeah. His style is just so unique that once you see it, you're like, oh wow, that's Tim Burton. It has to be. It's usually like a claymation or stop motion monster or anything like that, and then it always has like some black and white like lines on it or something.
Yeah.
I just love that he's taken um, some things from his own mind it's given to us, because a lot of people probably would have shut that down very easily because he's different. The way he
Mm.
does things is very different from
Yep.
how everyone else has done it. So it's like, you know, I just find him very fascinating because he just gives a unique take, and his films do that all the time. And they always have some type of like hidden message in there or something like that,
Yeah.
that's talking about something like with Edward Scissorhands,
Yeah.
he's talking about just like what it is to be different and then being
Yeah.
accepted and what does that all mean to you.
Mm.
I just love his films, and don't get me wrong, like some of his film, I'm like, okay, Tim, we're going a little out there, Tim. Okay, all right. But yeah, I think, and the fact that like people give him so many opportunities to like redo like their own things, like with Wednesday, it was like
Yeah.
he got to redo that and kind of see what does it mean to do the Adams Family,
Hmm.
and things like that. So yeah, I mean, for Tim Burton, I think he's just an amazing talent,
Yeah.
and he just brings so much to the table, even today, where he doesn't have to. He could literally just live off all of his royalties if he wanted to, but he keeps on doing it. So
Easily.
Mm.
He's crafted such a safe space for weird kids,
yeah, totally.
that have very dark minds and places. I mean, when you look at things like Nightmare Before Christmas or like Coraline, or right, and you're like, wow, my brain looks like that. Like that is how things work up here. And I don't know, it's cool to see these strange, weird people, as you mentioned, be the heroes, be the leads, be the people that we all look up to. I mean, it's awesome. It's
Yeah,
super badass.
true.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
totally agree.
I'm gonna do a little pivot. So,
Please.
you mentioned Loki and then Beetlejuice. People love them characters. They love them characters because they can see themselves as them characters. Because superheroes is unattainable, so you admire them, want to be them, but you're not actually that. What you are is this less than creature,
Hmm.
this thing that has issues, that is quote unquote broken. This thing that has intrusive thoughts about jealousy and pettiness and greed and things like that. Maybe self harm, murderous thoughts. Right. I was talking doing a lecture the other day, and I said, sometimes you just get a little stabby, just a little stabby, and the kids are looking at me like, huh?
I'm sorry.
I said it. I got my knife right here, just like on Scream. You clean it off after every murder.
Oh my
um, but I think we identify with those characters, so then we tend to like them a little bit more. And then when you see them go away and turn more babyface, we call it, turn more good, you're like,
Hmm.
oh, okay, so maybe I got a shot at doing it too. You're kind of rooting for this underdog.
Yeah.
And so now you get into this Tim Burton where you say he's got these weird worlds. Well, a lot of us, our thoughts are very dark and negative. And so what we know is like 70% of our thoughts are usually automatic negative thoughts every day. So constantly we're just shitting all over ourselves. I'm not enough. I'm too fat. I'm too ugly. My hair's the wrong color. I'm not smart enough. I'm first generation. I don't speak good enough English, good enough Spanish. I don't fit in with white people. I don't fit in with brown people. Like literally, we hate everything pretty much about ourselves.
Yeah.
And social media has intensified that. And then you take me and you and Spencer as podcasters. Well, now we evaluate ourselves based on other podcasts.
Hmm.
And then you're like, oh man, well I dislike them, or they doing it big because of me. And then you end up just hating everything. But we shut all that down and we don't tell anyone those negative thoughts. And then we hate ourselves that we have those negative thoughts.
Right.
And so you see characters like this Tim Burton guy and what he's doing, and you're like, oh, so that's a real thing that people do and think about.
Yeah.
Oh, so maybe I shouldn't be ashamed of that. And then that's when the OCD and the anxious thoughts start to lessen up. And that's when you're like, oh, okay, now you start to do some acceptance, and you're like, oh, so when you're not scared of it or shameful anymore, now you can live in the real world.
Hmm.
Because a lot of people will get very obsessive about how much they suck, and then if you're hyperphantasic or OCD, then that's all you think about.
Of course.
So these monsters are relatable because most of us hate ourselves.
Yeah.
Many of you listening to this are immediately not going to agree with that, but if you just sit down for a minute, you'll be like, I dislike a lot of things about myself. And that's okay to say.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. It's okay to dislike things about yourself. Doesn't mean that you have to hate yourself. You dislike maybe a couple bits, but you don't have to hate the whole thing. So I just wanted to pivot and say that. Then obviously people love Loki at the end there, Spence, because that one scene where he just wants friends.
Yeah.
The scene that me and you did on the pod where he's at the bar. I just want my friends back.
Yeah, I know.
Softy.
It's such a human, right, raw emotion. Like I just want friends. That
That's
connection.
That's all he's ever wanted, right? Because he was never the one, the go-to, the kid.
Yeah. Way to go,
which-
Thor.
Yeah, Thor.
Way to go.
To the blonde hair, blue eyes. They ruined everything.
Oh, they always pick the blonde hair, blue eyed, muscly ones every time.
Every time. No, that's a great point, Naz. I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yep.
It's nice to feel not so alone. To know that other people think like you do. Feel dark
Yeah.
sometimes. Most
Yeah.
of the time,
Which is good.
70% of the time, like you said.
Automatic negative thoughts. They're called ants, right? We have those ants running around every day.
Yeah.
When I'm talking to clients, I remember I am not the best person. I told you in the Instagram today, I'm a shit. I'm sorry. I'm an asshead, I think I called myself.
You did.
Spent just
You said
the
those
thing.
words.
Of course you did.
Who better than a trickster who grew up a trickster with trickster family members to help protect you from other tricksters?
Exactly.
Because I ain't a nice person, so I know what the other shitty people are thinking. I know how to maneuver and manipulate things to get you in a better spot. I teach clients to win.
I love that.
I teach them to win, and I always tell them, "Hey, man, sometimes we don't need to be nice, specifically women. Always being nice, always being passive, always allowing people to do things, always overextending themselves, never setting boundaries." I'm like, let's see you mad. And they're like, well, I don't ever get mad. I'm like, that's problem number one. Let's let that beast out. And I'll piss some of my clients off, and then they'll
Oh,
finally get mad at me. I'm like, yes, unleash it. I'm like, oh,
yeah.
put the knife away.
Yeah, yeah. 2 knives. I don't know.
Oh, dude, Jesus.
Yeah.
She just pulls out like 5 of them or 6 of them. What's that one guy's name? General Grievous?
General Grievous. Yeah, it is from Star Wars. Yeah.
Yeah, goddamn, girl.
8 hands. So many lightsabers.
All right, I'm done.
No, I love it. I think both of you, right, with your platform and where you are huge guiding lights in that way. But I like that you're like, oh yeah, but Trickster God, like let's make it fun. Let's play, right?
Oh, yeah. Totally.
Spencer, I'm curious now. Beetlejuice, like a big theme of that movie
Mhm.
is grief and death.
Mhm.
There's death, right? There's a lot of it.
Mhm.
And so why do you think comedy spaces, right? Like it's a funny movie. Why
Right.
do you think those are such fruitful grounds to talk about such difficult things like grief or death?
Because you can really kind of shine a light on such a dark topic.
Yeah.
Um, I think a lot of the times, especially when you are like, say, like you're going to like a funeral or anything like that, sometimes it's like joking with family members or friends about that person makes it a whole lot easier for you to actually get over that, like the death of that person, not
Mm,
necessarily getting over that person, because I don't think you ever really, if they actually truly meant something to you in your life, I don't think you can really get over them, which is a good thing because it's one of the things that we really stick to, like memories and having stories about those people that really keep
mm,
them alive and then going, even after they are gone. And
mm,
so comedy is a huge part of that because we can actually, I don't know, we can really talk about them in a light that's going to make other people enjoy them as well. Um, that's why I'm huge into comedy as well, like Nas was saying,
yeah.
with him too, because you can really bring a joy, and something for people to remember you by, um, for that. And sometimes we don't try to be funny at times because we think like it's going to be stupid or it's going to
Inappropriate.
not land as well,
Mm,
with other people, and then we just sit in silence, and then we don't say anything at all,
yeah.
and we get to miss out on those moments of being funny. um and I think that's true for, like in the movie itself for Beetlejuice. I mean, like we were saying, I mean, Tim Burton, he just has like he has a weird mind, and that's okay. I mean, I'm saying that with so much respect. It's like,
Yep.
he got to so many films that he's done. He's done Batman, he's done Pee Wee Herman, he's done Corpse Bride. He's done so many films that you're like, oh yeah, that was by Tim Burton. I forgot. Um, and they're all have like dark tones to them. He just does a fantastic job of blending a little bit of humor and weirdness along with like these different characters that we've known for a long time. Um, and in terms of Beetlejuice, I think just the comedy in general, um, just makes it so that you won't have to be in this dark, sad place the whole time. because I don't think Tim Burton's in a dark, sad place all the time himself. I think he also has a lot of humor and a lot of joy that comes to his life as well. And so he gets to speak through that through his films. Because sometimes I haven't seen, like, it's been a while since I've seen like a really, really dark film, but there was like, what's that one with the wrestlers? What's it called again?
Oh, Iron Claw.
Yeah, Iron
Ooh,
Claw. I haven't seen it yet. I will once we actually do a pod on it.
same.
But
Oh, I
like all
hear.
I've heard about it is just sad, 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 and you're just like, oh, and then the real life is actually sadder, and you're just like, oh my gosh, like what? It's like, and it's good to hear those stories, and it's
Mhm.
nice, but you can't hear them all the time because you're
Mhm.
just gonna get. It's just so depressing,
Yeah.
and for me, at least, I don't want to wallow in that because I want to make sure that I'm still the happy person and the comedic person that I am, and it's hard to do that once you're just surrounded by darkness and
Mhm.
just you know sadness like all the time. But a lot of
Yeah.
people do go through that, and so it's one way that I really can relate to, at least to Tim Burton's point, is just being like, okay, let's have a little bit of comedy with that darkness, with that
Yeah.
dark humor in there. So
Yeah.
The world is already super sad and
yeah.
actually very depressing. And as I tell many of my clients, the world quite actually sucks.
Yeah.
And they're like, "What? Are you supposed to say that?" I'm just being for real with you. It sucks. But there'll be moments of like deep joy and happiness, and those won't come to you. You'll have to go take it. Otherwise, the world will literally strip you of everything. It was an interesting conversation I had with a client the other day. I got this email while talking to her, and I was like, we're going to pivot. We're going to focus on some few things. And then we did, and I could see her getting teary eyed because she was getting scared from what I was
Mm.
saying. She knows it was true because the world has been very dark for her.
Sure.
So me and Spence like comedy because it brings us joy, this happiness. And as we know, with a lot of folks that are neurodivergent, specifically autistic, we get shut down pretty quickly. As soon as someone doesn't laugh at us, that social exclusion, that social anxiety, we're like, oh, I guess I just won't say anything, and you'll just see people go mute.
Sure.
Like my best friend Colin, I didn't know this until he came on the podcast. He doesn't talk much because he got bullied so much when he was younger because of his
Yeah.
speech impediment issues. I was like, fuck. So yeah, I need to shut up and let you talk. Um, so right, people get shut down, and this happens more subtly to women, where boys can usually act a little bit more. We get more leeway, uh, and so we pivot and look at comedy as something joyful. Me and Spence like to talk a lot of shit, which can get us put on like canceled and inappropriate,
Mm.
unprofessional, stupid. What did someone call us on the podcast? I mean, God bless them and their comment on us, but they're like, you two are gross and you two
Mm.
like just raunchy boys, and this was uninformational. I was like,
Oh.
we did a podcast on Pee Wee Herman because it was funny as hell. So we
I
did a
love
funny
Pee Wee.
podcast. I know,
I
but
know.
we decided to do a funny one instead of like all these heavy ones that we were doing that were all
Yeah.
horrible. That
Yeah.
Yeah.
was our like one, and then they watched it and they hated it. I'm like, hey, our podcast isn't meant for everyone.
True.
Yeah.
I love the guests that we just had. If you want to listen to someone like Dr. Drea, God bless them, awesome 10 year podcast. They're going to Comic-Con, doing an interview with the X-Men. It's awesome.
Hell yeah.
Hella famous, awesome woman, hella doing their thing, busy as shit. But
Mhm.
she was like, yeah, people love my podcast and they like put it on at night to go to sleep to. I was like, yeah, that's not our podcast. We're ripping and
Mm.
running.
A
Like
little different.
you're gonna be driving in your car and be like, you're gonna be like, did he just say that? And we need different voices.
Yeah.
And I always pivot back to Robin Williams. Me and Spencer trying to be like Robin Williams. We know what it is to be sad. We know what it is to be depressed. Why? Because we used to be there. So we're gonna make sure that you don't feel that way when you listen to our pod.
Yeah.
When I talk to my clients, I will make you laugh at least once. I don't give a shit if you're getting ready to commit suicide. Trigger warning. But we're gonna at least find a way to make you smile. To maybe like
Yeah.
there's hope or a shot.
Yeah.
And so Spence, he said a lot of magnificent things. I just want to tie it in why we do it.
Yeah.
It's because our worth is we have silver tongues. Might as well use it.
Mm.
Maybe Spence isn't the best with this or that talking, and I stutter and mix words up. But shit, I can get you laughing.
Mhm.
I can get you laughing. And if I can get you laughing, that means maybe I can get you to believe that there'll be better days.
Yeah.
That's what we believe in as like a mission and value and purpose in the podcast. I wanted to pivot into that to make sure Spence doesn't say it's not just He loves comedy, but it's deeper than that for me and Spence. Like this is a thing and a calling. We were gifted, might as well use it.
Yeah.
All right, I'm done.
It's beautiful. And I mean, laughter is such a visceral thing. Like, when you're in your head
Yeah.
so much, and when you chuckle, when you do a full body laugh, like you feel grounded.
Right.
It's like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm alive. And
Shit.
I haven't been, right? Like,
I'll get headaches and shit. So
yeah.
you get grounded, I be passing out because I got high
He
blood
does.
pressure.
He's passed out at least 20 times on the
That's
podcast, at
fantastic.
least.
Our last guest, she goes, "This is the funniest podcast I've ever been on, Dr. Drea." And she
Yeah.
legit fell off camera.
She did. I said something about Ozempic.
You
Oh
said something.
no.
I said, "There's not a pill big enough to cure me." He's like, "Ozempic can't even cure you, bro."
Oh
Some
my
shit like that.
god.
She passed out. She was like crying. It was magnificent.
You are
The fact that we made
ridiculous.
people cry in our show from laughter,
Yeah,
magnificent.
it's so
It's
great.
and not for anything else. That's pretty cool. That's
Oh yeah.
beautiful.
Well,
Well, I
you
know,
said
there's good crying, okay?
you
Crying
said
is
you
good.
listened to that Last of Us podcast, them bastards. That I was sobbing when we came back to talk
It's
about it.
yeah.
I was hurt.
Yeah.
That was a good one. And then I had to edit the reels. I'm like, every time I got to edit reels and it's a sad one, Spence, I always text him like, "You son of a bitch."
Come on.
I
I
know.
to do this episode.
I know. It's horrible.
God, what a good show.
Yeah, it is.
Season 2 coming out.
Hey.
Oh, is it? Is it soon?
It'll be soon.
I think they said 2025 or is it 6? 25?
It's probably 25. I wouldn't be
25?
surprised.
Probably
Pedro's
25.
very busy. He's a busy
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah, he
Busy
sure is.
man. That's a good looking man.
Sure is.
He is the daddy. He's everybody's internet daddy now.
He
or
sure
daddy.
is.
He sure is.
He sure is. Mr. Fantastic, here we go.
That's right. I
Another one.
forgot.
Another father. Father
Yep.
He's
figure.
just only gonna be fathers.
He pretty much is. He's never going to be like an asshole. I've never seen him as an asshole yet. I really haven't.
Well, and I'm
He's always
curious
just
to see this Mr. Fantastic because Mr. Fantastic can be kind of interesting sometimes.
Yeah,
So
he can be. But he'll probably play it to where it's like
he's
he's
just a
pretty
good
like,
guy.
he's just a good leader. He's
Yeah.
just a really good leader.
Yeah,
Come here, baby. Come here, baby.
Come here, Miss Invisible. Come here. I think you're right there. I feel you. I think. Maybe. I don't know.
Well, pivoting over to Naz,
Yeah.
I'm curious. Please tell everybody who El Chupacabra is.
So this is real funny because I don't really think about. You said monsters, so I picked some
did.
monsters that I hear a lot, right? And that I like saying and this and that, and so I don't know a lot about Chupacabra, but I do, right? Because it's part of the culture. So I got
Okay.
some funny stories. The one I identified the most with wasn't the Baba Yaga one, but it kind of was. It was the Venom one. That was the one that I identified with the most, and I use in
Hmm.
therapy. But we'll go back to Chupa. So Pops would always say Chupa. Have you ever heard it called just Chupa?
Yep.
Yep, Chupa, right? And so when I was younger, Pops would be like, "Oh, yep, here comes Chupa." I'm like, "Who the hell's Chupa?" That's your mama, boy.
Oh my god.
I know. So like, I bring it up for derogatory reasons. So right, technically, this thing to me it looks like a hound or like a hyena, or some people say it looks like a dog. Some people say it looks kind of like a werewolfish. And the reason why Pops would say that to certain people is because either one, they were monsters themselves. They would literally be soul sucking all of your happiness and joy, and they just make you angry and violent, right? Or that they were just ugly as hell. Hey, this is where we get. Hey, this Dan's words. This ain't mine. This you can't cancel. Convict who's disabled. He'd be like, "Come at me." And straight up, those would be the reasons. And so he would call folks Chupa. And I remember he would say it to Ma because my mom was crazy. She was violent, and she'd suck up to you, but then she switched on a dime, and almost like a bipolar switch. And he knew that she was terrifying. And that's why he would make fun of her and call her that, right? Not to her face, because she'd probably legit kill you. And so we would say that he would say that. And so now when we say it, it's more like identifying someone that is not aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah.
I don't really ever use it, but I thought there was the funny stories behind it. And supposedly this thing right eats animals and like
Yeah.
sucks the blood of animals and stuff like that. And then now as I was reading more on it, because right, you had us do this thing about monsters, and I was like, shit, I'll do it. And then I'm reading on it, and I was like, oh, that's another reason, right? Because there's some folks that are just life force
Life sucking.
sucking. Yeah, it reminds me of the dude that was a vampire in that stupid comedy on FX, The Shadows. What's that
What we
movie
do in the
called?
shadows.
Yeah. So what was that one guy, the bald guy? He
the
was on Better Call Saul. He was the
uh Colin Robinson. Colin
Colin
Robinson.
Robinson, and he was like
Colin
a,
Robinson.
and he would just like bore you to death. He would literally
Energy
bore you to
vampire.
death. Energy vampire.
Yeah.
There it is.
Some people are energy vampires. Some people are like happiness vampires.
Yeah.
Right. Some just create chaos and stir up the pot.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at this, this trooper, and I'm like, oh, there's many different things. Some people will literally take everything you got. You got them as family members. Some of you got them as friends that are in K through 12, high school. You keep them around because maybe you
Yeah.
can't find other friends, or you don't know what to do, or maybe they were good back in the day, but now they shit all over you. Now they bring up your body weight.
Hmm.
Now they're laughing at you about your scores, or maybe they're making fun of your partner because they look this way or that way, or they're saying subtle things. They're attacking you little by little. So I didn't have a massive backstory, but it got me thinking after, you like, hey, pick this one. I was like, okay, I'll research it. Um, the energy vampires, the goodness vampires. Those are the ones that me and Spence talk about
Yeah.
when me and Spence know, specifically when you're dealing with autism, you got some people that are just like angels.
Mm.
They're super innocent, they're awesome, they're magnificent. There's no way anyone could be this good. You think it's fake because they're that good. Even their voice is angelic. And then you got those other people because you go around them and it's like, holy shit, I want to be better as a man
Hmm.
when you're around this person. I'll stop swearing around some folks because I'm like, we need to protect you.
Yeah.
you you're legit one of the good ones. And then you got the others where you're like, oh, I need to watch out for this one. This might be that violent one, that one that
Hmm.
maybe drinks too much, that one that gets aggressive at the parties.
Yeah.
This might be the one that gets a little too flirty around women, or may
Hmm.
say or touch, right? Right, it's the one that you're always like sus about. That's what my clients all say now, sus. They give you the ick. And so that's what I see the trooper is now in my mind. Is that little thing walking around, waiting, waiting for the right time
Yeah.
to take everything that you got. So that's how I see it.
Yeah.
So funny story, inappropriate story, but there I just therapize the monster for you.
Therapy, I like that.
Therapize.
No, that's a great point. And I mean, people don't realize these interactions with these soul sucking people stay with you forever.
Oh, bro.
Um, it's terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying. And it almost continues to suck that life out of you years later, you know?
Yep.
It's
And you've
horrifying.
had them in your life. You've had them in your comments. You've had them as professors.
Mm.
Right. I was watching this show, Spence. Well, oh no, it wasn't that one.
Hmm.
Excuse me. It was. She's going to be a writer. Sorry. Here it is. It is Sex Education. It
Oh,
was a
okay.
funny show on Netflix. I thought it was just the holdovers that we were watching, but it's the funny show on Netflix. And she goes to present her paper. She's at this big time college university, and the professor hates her because she's a woman, and because she's really good and talented. And it's the main character from Schitt's Creek, so he's playing that asshole
Mm.
role very well. And he's like, "Oh, it's not good enough. Oh, it's not good enough." Well, you're white trash, so you could never be
Mm.
as good as the other kids that got the pedigree. Um, and so those people, right? She was getting ready to quit and drop out of school.
Yeah.
So it happens a lot. Me and Spence talked about it when we did the Malcolm X movie. They
Mm.
said, "You know what you are, boy. I'm not gonna say the word, but you'll
Yeah.
never be a lawyer. You'll never be nothing. You just be a nice, pleasant boy, and you'll make it.
You'll be
Mm.
good with
Maybe
your hands.
be good with your hands.
Mm.
Yeah, pick up a good trade. And you ain't going to law school." Every time I say boy, he's saying a different word.
Mhm.
Um, and so that was it. One of the most intelligent people there were on this earth. And yet, as a young child, it gets taken out of you. As we know, the studies show when you, I'm losing the word, when you get everything to this bottom line of socioeconomic status. So when you like, all right, you got white folks, brown folks, black folks, they're all right here, right? You're not taking rich and then poor. So you put it right here. You see black and brown minds dropping out on fourth and fifth grade, where the white kids, even though they're just as poor, are still progressing to seventh, eighth, ninth grade mentally. So why is it that these black and brown kids are dropping out mentally?
Yeah.
They're being taught something, they're being told something. They're all poor, so they all got the same shit, drug, alcohol, whatever it is, single mom, doesn't matter. But these brown and black kids are dropping out, third, fourth grade.
Mhm.
Why is that? What's these subliminal things that were being taught? As my professor told me, she said, Naz, you're angry. I'm not angry. I don't feel angry. She said, you're always angry in my class. So I'm not fucking angry. And she's like, you don't even know why you're angry. But this is the way you were raised. Because of all these things that you hear and you feel stupid, this and that. Well, now I'm crying. This is in the
Mhm.
hallway. This is in the
Yeah.
hallway with a bunch of white kids around me. But she would come at you, Professor Owens. And it's true. A lot of us that are black and brown, we grow up angry, and we don't see any teachers that look like us, right? We don't see any quirky black and brown bodies that look like us. We don't see these people talking shit and having fun.
Yeah.
Me and Spence talk about on the pod all the time. We see these folks on social media making a complete fool of themselves, or maybe showing a bunch of body parts, or making it really sexualized. And these are like therapists and professors. And then people will comment, black and brown people are like, we can't do that.
Hmm.
If we were to do that, we would probably get kicked out of our faculty job
Mhm.
because we're overly sexualized. And so even if women wear tight clothing and they're black and brown, nope. But then you got these people on social media and you're like, so we just interviewed a guest and someone called her out on it. They're like, yeah, you're so lucky you get to do this
Hmm.
on your Instagram. And I'm like, yeah, preach.
Yeah.
Me and Spence could just say a lot of wild stuff. But there's only so much I can say. It's only so goofy I can act because then you'll see me as stupid or a thug, uneducated. You won't even recognize the doctor word in front of my name. So the world is soul sucking. Humans can be soul sucking. Racism, patriarchy can be soul sucking.
It's exhausting.
Yeah. So I thought I'd tie in a bunch of different things.
Yeah. I'm glad.
I go on my rants. I'm sorry.
That's the point. I want your rants. Keep them
That's-
coming. They're
that's the-
fantastic.
Oh, don't
That-
say that.
Autism.
Don't say
You like the rant, girl? You like autism? I didn't know that till now.
that.
You know.
Tism.
I hope you guys have shirts that say that.
We got, hey, you know what? Just a plug. We do have our own shop, and go
We
check
do.
us out on
Yep.
different spectrums pod.com.
Yeah.
Different-
and we'll
different,
link
not
everything
less
in the
is probably my
description.
favorite.
So
Yeah.
go
Yes.
go
We
get
might need
some
to get
stuff.
one that says tism. Oh, we
got
need to
some good
update.
stuff.
We need to update the one that says therapist. I want to say, because I actually bought the other one the other day. I want to say therapist look like me.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
love
I want to do that one. Look like me.
You
Because I want some
check
of our black and brown friends that are therapists to buy it.
I
Uh-oh.
love it.
He pulling out the Magna hat. It's
What
not
does
a
it
Magna
say?
hat.
Be a man. Fuck.
Oh my god.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
But
Be
it
a
looks
man.
like it says something else.
Yeah, be a man. Don't get shot in the ear.
Oh my god. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
He didn't get any stitches. It's not that serious.
And it was all set up.
What
Well,
a crazy past few weeks it's been, hasn't it?
Yeah, it really has, right?
I don't even know what's happening anymore. I feel like we're in a sitcom. I feel like it's what the hell is going on?
Well, this
Yeah.
and then think about it. This is why people don't want to have kids these days because the world is
know.
crazy.
I know.
And then you got, people talk about him getting shot, and then since your website says this, I'm going to say this. So I assume it's free range.
Yeah.
Well, you got these babies getting killed over in Palestine, right? Everyone's like, it's only 35, 40,000. New studies say it's almost 200,000.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're attacking my country in Lebanon. And, shit getting ready to pop off now. But they getting ready to wipe Lebanon off the map. We already know this because they've done it before. They're going to do it again.
Yeah.
So it's just sad. The world is terrifying. What did they say on Game of Thrones? The world is dark and full of terror. The night is dark and full of terrors.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fucking terrifying. Terrifying world. Hey, real quick. Our homie Spence that we just did that podcast with, she getting attacked now online. And people, the white girl from Canada, because she's very pro-Palestine and all that. Well, now they're spamming her emails, booking all her appointments so she can't make any money. they're sending her images of her being, big, and like they're really full on trolling her
Oh
to where she
dear.
can't even make money. I'm like, all because she's trying to support people from being genocidally killed.
I
It's wild. I sent her a text the other day. I said, "You good?" The reason why I'm saying this is because now it's getting scary. I didn't think people could do
I
that. They're
know.
gonna legit internet bully you.
Oh yeah, they're very bad with that. Like,
Very bad.
oh yeah, yeah.
Oh, dude, it's horrible. And then I saw
Mhm.
your page, and I'm like, hopefully you haven't gotten too much crazy stuff about your
Well, we
pro
did our
life.
big live stream last night.
Okay.
And so I think we were fine. I think we were okay. But I
Okay.
don't, I'm totally expecting it. I think it's gonna
Eventually.
happen. Yeah. I mean, we're privileged in a way that we're so tiny right now. We're so small and like
Yep. Yep.
Right.
we're a speck, right? But I don't know. It's just a terrifying place. Social media is so scary anyway. Um, but it's like the only way people can actually talk about this stuff and
Correct.
be like,
Yeah.
look at all these fucking things happening in the world. Like, I don't know.
It's crazy.
It's
But
complicated.
I'm glad that you had that Free Palestine in there. That was pretty
No,
cool. I liked
thank
that.
you.
But also, then I got scared for you because then it triggered what I saw from her this weekend. So
Yeah,
that was
yeah,
intense, Spencer. If someone does that to us, I'm gonna be like, I tried to help her. Like, maybe you can block it. Like she said, it's all
sure.
different emails, thousands of emails she's getting per day. Jesus.
It's horrible.
Shut that email down.
I
Yeah,
know. And the
yeah,
guy told her, you might as well just shut your email down. But your
yeah.
email's connected to so many things.
True. True.
It's
That's
so
why
It's
hard.
I
intense.
have
The
like
guy's
5 of
trolling.
them just in case.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
guy's literally trolling her, dude. It's horrible.
Yeah.
People are sick.
Why you got all time to go do something? Go do something else.
I
Don't listen.
know.
Don't listen.
I don't know.
That's all they're invested in.
I don't know.
Yep. Crazy world. I'm sorry. I took us in a different
No,
direction. Let's get
no,
back to
please. You're fine.
let's get back to the monsters.
Speaking of monsters, though,
Yeah.
right?
Right. Yeah. No. Yeah. Well.
Well, I'm
I'm not gonna
curious,
I'm not gonna go too further than that one because I got some things to say, but I ain't getting canceled for
that's
this
Yeah.
point.
Not
no, it's
today.
okay. It's okay. I mean, that's what this show's for, right? Is to
Yeah,
explore that and talk about these things that people are too afraid to talk about.
true.
And, thinking about Beetlejuice, thinking about a Chupacabra, right? All of these legendary monsters and things. I know we kind of asked that with Spencer, right? Like, why are dark places such a fruitful ground for talking, or comedic places, rather, such a fruitful ground for talking about dark things? Why do you all think monsters like Beetlejuice or Chupacabra, right, could be a powerful way to explore mental health?
That's a good
Yeah,
question.
it is. Yeah.
I mean, they're great parallels because we've all, in my opinion, we've all been in these dark places, right? And
Yeah.
Naz hit on it a little bit, but it's it's the fact that we've been to these dark places, and in these characters, these are where they've turned, right? So we
Hmm.
haven't turned yet. We haven't done that. We're not on that
Yeah.
side of where they are. We're not those
Yeah.
monsters yet.
Yep.
And so we like to take a look at them to see, like, hey, I need to do these things so I don't turn into that
There you
monster,
go.
right? And
Mm.
so, and for Beetlejuice, it's making sure that that I'm not selfish in only thinking of myself, because then I'll just die alone and I'll be alone even through even after death. I'll be alone.
Mm.
Because if you look at Beetlejuice, he's a very alone character. Like, nobody really likes him. Nobody messes with him because he's done these things to other people, and he's
Yep.
been a trickster. He's been mischievous to other people, and so that's what they see him as, is only that.
Yeah.
Um, and so he lost a lot of his humanity before he even died. I bet he lost all of his humanity, and then
Yeah.
he just kept it going even in the afterlife.
Yeah.
So now, even then, he's alone and doesn't really have anybody else there for him. And so I just think that um, when it comes to mental health, and to just horror films or these characters or monsters in general, they're a good warning, right? And you've put that too, like, it's a good warning
Yeah.
for you to not be those monsters and to try to change how you are. Now, some monsters don't really have that choice
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's what others have done to them. But in the case of Beetlejuice, for me, it's a very good warning to be selfless, help others, and then also be caring in a lot of ways, or else you're going to be alone for the rest of your life, and you're just going to try to figure out some way to get out of the bind you're in, because you're going to be in many binds like forever.
Yeah.
Just like Beetlejuice has, because he doesn't really go by rules. He only goes by what he wants to do. And that's where, he's kind of at. So very excited to see what they do with Beetlejuice too.
Yeah.
And the juice is loose.
Oh boy.
The
That's
juice
right.
is
That's the
loose.
tagline, isn't it?
It is.
Is it?
That's so
There you
great.
go. The
Brilliant.
juice is loose.
Right after OJ died too.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was right. They did great
I
timing
did
with
not
that trailer.
even realize that.
Yeah. The juice is loose.
There you go. Only thing I can think would like juice, I instantly just think of lean. like codeine syrup and like Sprite. Or like, I
Thank
think
you.
of like
We didn't know what
Gucci
lean
Man.
was.
I think of
Where's my
Gucci
scissor
Man.
at?
Like instantly, like when you said the
Oh my
juice is loose,
God.
I just thought of fucking the purple dude from Power Rangers. What was his name?
Oh my
Dr.
gosh.
Ooze.
Oh, yeah, ooze.
Ooh, Dr. Ooze. I just think, and
It was
everyone's
Dr.
like, my man's was slinging lean back in
He
the day.
really was. I love that. I
So
love it.
stupid.
That shit. I actually bought some. I got some ooze here.
I thought you meant lean. Lean?
lean. Yeah, lean and ooze, relatively the same,
Hey,
Yeah.
R.I.P. Pimp C.
Interchangeable.
Pimp C.
Interchangeable.
Um, so Spencer's thing, he was talking about, how could it be good for mental health? I think you're right. It's good for comparative, like this comparative like therapy. I think also like when we look at things like, let's say the TV show Shameless, people love the show Shameless, right? And why? Because you happy as shit that you're not them when you're done watching the episode.
Hmm.
Right? People, it's all, it's crazy, this and that. You're just like, thank God it's not me. It's that comparative of looking down. At least my life doesn't suck that bad.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of these horror things, you leave it like, damn, that was crazy. And you go back to a normal job and your next car, right? And you're like, well, that shit ain't happening to me.
Yeah.
I think there's some folks that see that, right? It's escapism. Like we like these scary movies and
Totally.
shows. Comedy is transformative and it can really distract you. But not all comedies are like hilarious, right? There's just a couple good. You might chuckle twice, like real good, and it's about it.
Yeah.
The horror movies, like you're in it, and your heart rate's up, and like right, it's got your attention. And so I think a lot of people enjoy these characters and monsters because it takes their attention away from their life, which is equally scary.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can get into this other world that's fictional. And so you'll see a lot of folks that are autistic escape into these very playful worlds. And sometimes they could be scary, but they morph it into not being that scary. My mind went and started playing tricks with me, so my monsters picked up. When you brought up grief and then Spencer, and then there was like a funeral or something like that, and I was like, oh, great, we're going for a ride. So it's to remember all the really sad funerals if you've been to, and then I had to relive all those moments, and I started to cry. Neither one of you saw it, thank God. But I was like, can we change the topic?
Nope.
Jesus.
I'm sorry.
It's completely fine.
He's gonna go there. He's gonna go there.
My brain just goes to where it goes, right? And then the visual, but then you're in it. And then like it's me holding the casket and like you're in it and I can feel the weight of the casket for like my grandma or my brother. And it's like, Jesus, this is heavy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. But my brain goes into different places. But I think that's why folks like the horror movies. It's transformative. It transports. It's distracting.
Yeah.
I told a client the other day, I said, your arm hurts. Yeah. I said, there was this old movie where they said, boom, he breaks your leg. And he said, why'd you just break my leg, goddammit? He said, your arm don't hurt no more, does it? Because you're focused on that thing. And so in therapy, that's what I call distraction techniques.
Yeah.
You're laughing, but technically only your emotions only last 4 seconds.
I'm laughing because I just watched Major Pain with Wayne's brother, and one of the techniques he was like, I'm shot. He was just like, you wanna not feel that anymore? And then he breaks his finger and he's like, my finger. He's like, I told you.
one of the Wayne's brothers liked one of our reels the other day. It was
Did he?
Congratulations.
one of the older ones. It's not as well known. Usain Bolt liked another one of our reels, and so I tagged him like, "Bro, just join the goddamn podcast."
Right.
John Sally from the NBA champion Pistons
Oh, nice.
liked one
Hell
of our things the
yeah.
other day. They're all liking the one with Andrew Andre Bauer, where he's in there talking about being a dentist and all that shit.
Oh,
That
yeah.
reel's gone viral.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's hilarious. It was one of the Wayne's brothers.
I have to look at
But yeah,
that.
it's interesting to see how horror movies are monsters. So I guess I want to put some respect on this. So the monsters, we talked about other people, right? The monsters, like you said, live within us or in our brains. So majority of the time, it's ourself kicking our own ass. So the podcast that we just did with Dr. Drea, we talked about Storm and how she loses her powers, and
Mm,
then this Raven thing is like poisoning her and
mm,
telling her horrible things, and she says, I believe this lie that was told to me.
yeah.
In actuality, that's probably what the monster is for most of us. It's a lie that you heard or the context of the world told you, and then you internalize it. And now that becomes your world. And then you just keep doubling down. And so when you come to meet me with therapy, I'll start changing some of your behaviors,
Mm,
and then I'll try to mess with some of your thoughts because the belief is too hard to get to. So I have to change these other two things before we can ever touch on the beliefs.
yeah.
And it's always fun when I ask a client, like, who told you that lie? Who told you this? Uh, and that monster lives inside of our heads rent free.
Mm,
And it's horrific, like you said, and stays with you. And it'll pop its head up even after you do your therapy or take medication or you're doing your meditation, right? That monster follows you with Spencer knows with injuries. You're always scared when you're playing basketball
mm,
or when you're just going for hikes like me and him. And I feel a little twinge in my Achilles and I'm like, oh shit,
yeah.
that
Yeah.
monster is, I'm getting older. Death is closer. I'm fat. Maybe I need to stretch more. Maybe I didn't drink enough more. I won't be able to finish the trip, and then it's a wasted trip. Then I'm letting my friend down and my brother down. Right, right. That monster
Mm-hmm.
comes, and so the question is, I'm going to say this jokingly. Don't laugh, but stop being a little punk and then acting like you don't want it to happen. You need to accept that the monster's going to come, and then when it comes, you'll deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
When that anxiety attack comes, you'll deal with it.
Yeah.
When those ruminating, obsessive thoughts come, you'll deal with it. When that intrusive visual about the funeral that I just had, you'll deal with it. Instead of, I hope it doesn't come, I'm having anxiety about, maybe I might throw up in public. When you have anxiety, because you will, we'll deal with it. When that little Chucky dog comes at you, we're going to kick his little dumb ass in the head. you know. Hey, a New Girl, I'm sorry, this is I got to say this. A New Girl, the last season, he goes, well, yeah, someone just came and picked up your kid from daycare. And they said, who? He said it was a white man. And Schmidt goes, a
White
white
man.
man? A white man?
And they just came in. Yeah, like of course.
One of the most terrifying fucking monsters.
Typical.
One of the most terrifying monsters there are, boy. Shit.
Hello.
Hey, when I see one of them white truck, one of them big old trucks, I'm like, damn.
They coming.
They coming, boy. Yeah, motherfucking. I see them not the spandex. No, why did I say that? The farmer pants.
Spandex.
What are the farmer
What
pants
you
called?
thinking about, homie? It's spandex.
Hey, they just they closeted
Uh-oh.
gay.
Oh my god.
No, what do they call overalls? Overalls. You see a pair of overalls coming at you, like Duncan High,
Duck and hide.
Duncan
Duck
High.
and hide.
Me and Spencer just pull out our red hats when we're on our road trip.
Like,
Oh
hello.
no.
Hello, good sir.
Oh
Hello, governor.
gosh.
Yeah.
Hey, no ticket, sir. No ticket.
Hey, man, my dad, he finally got to look at all the pictures from the vacation, and he goes,
Yeah.
holy shit, you should have taken your pistol with you. I was like, I told you.
Yeah. Well, we were going into Canada, so that probably wouldn't have been smart.
I
You know
know.
what I'm saying?
I know, but I was like, Pops, we were in some weird areas. There wasn't a
Yeah.
black person, brown person in sight.
Yeah.
All right. It's just interesting. I remember doing this exercise, and I'm done talking after this.
You're fine.
We were talking to students, and they said, when you see this car, what do you think of it? A bunch of people said black people. When you see an Escalade coming, what do you see? They go, oh, yeah, black people. And they're scared of the Escalade or the car with rims.
Mm.
And then a bunch of my students of color, same class, we did this experiment with. They said, "Shit, I see one of them big old trucks. I'm terrified." And I said, "Yep."
Mhm.
You see that
Mhm.
flag with the blue
Mhm.
streak in the middle? You're just like, oh, I know
Yeah.
that one.
Yeah.
Don't tread on me. You're like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
Okay. Mhm.
okay, where we going now?
Mhm.
I'm not always worried about the car with rims. Uh,
Yeah.
I ain't worried about the car with rims. I'm gonna probably talk to the dude with the car with the rims.
Yeah.
Where'd you
Yeah.
get those rims?
Yeah.
Man,
Oh my,
you,
where'd you get
you
those?
you got some big old rims, my dear.
Oh,
My what beautiful
God.
rims you got, my dear. I'm playing a monster, right? The monster. It's
Sure you are.
the
Yeah.
big bad wolf, right?
Whatever you say, homie. Whatever you say. Yeah.
I love the paint job you got, my dear.
This is how we're gonna highlight this episode, by the way. It's gonna just have Nas saying that. I'm like,
Yeah,
welcome
you
to the
should.
show.
Yeah.
You good?
His father will finally know.
Gee.
Pervert.
Oh my god.
He's like, I already knew that.
He's like, why do you think I keep him caged up?
Oh my gosh.
It's fine.
It's all right. He has a little water thing. It's fine.
Oh my. Oh,
Like a
that movie?
hamster?
Yeah.
Yeah, like the little spout or whatever. Oh my God, you're doing it.
Yep. Hey, that movie that I talked about was called The Barbarian.
Oh, I've heard terrifying things about that.
Yeah, it's super creepy. Super
Yeah.
creepy. The Barbarian. Yeah, it's super super gross. That's a big
That's
trigger
what I
warning
hear.
for that one.
Yeah.
My client's like, yeah, this reminds me of me, and I was like, oh my god, child,
Like, what part?
what was wrong with you? She was like, oh no, just the one beginning part where the guy forces this girl to like
Oh.
to do the, and it was innocent too, and then all the monster stuff happens. I was like, girl, you could have just told me that instead of watching me,
Yeah.
had me watch the whole damn movie.
And you're just like terrified for them, just being like, what the fuck?
And then of course I have Colin and his wife watch it, and it's all like based in Detroit. And she's like, "This why we not moving to Detroit." I was like, "Fuck you." So you're scared to move to Detroit because of black people, and then this one goblin.
Oh
Okay,
my gosh.
you bigot.
Then they moved to Alaska. That's
I know.
the
Surrounded
capital.
by natives. He loves natives. He loves people that look like me. So Alaska was the most people that look like me.
Oh, well. Aloha.
Hey, buddy.
This really fell off the rails, didn't it?
You know, it's okay. It's all on the rails still. We're still talking about the
You
same
say
thing.
that. You
Those
say that.
rails have been off for
They're
a
just a
while.
little wonky, but they're there.
We're
Yeah,
off-roading right
my
now.
bra is off.
And there it goes again.
Yep,
And there it goes
it's off.
again.
I'm done. I'm sorry.
Let them
No,
hang.
you're
I'm
fine.
sorry.
You're fine.
Were there some other
And
questions or topics that you had for us?
I have the
Yes.
last question, if that's
Okay.
cool.
Yeah, of course.
I always like to end the interview with this question because it's a bit silly, but this is for both of you. Spencer, if you ran into Beetlejuice, or Naz, if you ran into El Chupacabra, what would you say to them, or what would you do?
Beetlejuice.
Bye.
Yeah, there it goes. And there it goes. That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
Okay.
He's gone now. He's either here or he's there. He's coming out. Whatever I'm feeling that day. If I feel like destroying the world.
I'm gonna pivot that. And so, what are the mantras that you say to yourself if the monsters do come for you? What are the mantras that you say? Do you visualize and say, "Hey, I'm gonna be okay. Everything's fine"? Do you visualize something that your parents told you that's loving and warm? Spencer made a joke, but seriously, what are the repetitive things that you say to yourself?
Yeah.
Because those are very helpful and beneficial, specifically when you're going in to do something.
Yeah.
Spencer talked about not being able to like say things to stick up for yourself. Maybe you do say that Beetlejuice thing, that repetitive good thing. That way you get the gumption, the moxie to go do it.
Yeah.
You know, you get ready to open up that door. You say something positive and affirming 2 or 3 times. Walk into the door, go handle business. Go take your test. Go knock out that interview. Right.
Yeah.
Go ask that person out on a date. Go ask that person to be married. Hey, let's just maybe talk to a new person that you don't like talking to people, but if you know autistic, socially anxious, maybe just finally say hello. It's a nice day out, you know. Or maybe you ask someone that's a little nerdy and you see some pins on their backpack. Hey, I like your pins. Finally say, I like your pins.
Hmm.
Someone the other day, Spencer told me, they said, hey, I like your shoes. It's like, oh, thank you. We had a great conversation about my shoes.
Nice.
And and about shoe culture and this and that. It was just this little tiny white lady, and she was like nice as shit. And that made me feel good because I'm
Yeah.
scary looking. And this fact that this little white lady talked to me made me feel good and accepted. So, what are the mantras that you can say? All jokes aside, what are the mantras? So, I want everyone that's listening to this something positive, something affirming. It's a good voice. Maybe it's a grandparent. Maybe it's a character in one of the movies, right? Maybe it's a monster that heard something that was peaceful and that made them relax and feel comfortable to maybe shed some of that skin. Uh, Very powerful thing having these deep breathing moments and these mantras. Because you're already saying you're fucking terrible, so you might as well say something 3 times that, maybe I don't deserve to like die.
Yeah.
I don't love myself, but also I shouldn't die.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I wanted to give you some actual healing stuff there instead of just Spencer being
Thank
like
you. Appreciate
Beetlejuice.
that. Appreciate it. Yeah. It's this whole thing. It's 3 times. That's it.
True.
It's either done or it's finished. I don't know. Two of the same things, but they're different.
I started and stopped at the same thing. I should have had my little Beetlejuice toy. I forgot about it.
Yeah, you should have.
Dang.
Yeah, it's
What
a dog
missed
toy.
opportunity.
I know. It's my whole life. It is what it is. Couple
Well, what
more
would
better
you,
just
Naz, what would you say to El
Yeah.
Chupacabra, of course?
be aware of the people that are soul sucking, energy vampires. Protect
Yeah.
yourself. For those of you that are marginalized identities and feel like you always need to say like yes to everything, we probably need to work on that. Because if you're not going to do it now, when are you going to do it? Because when you get to work, being brown, being a woman, being autistic, people are going to take advantage of you. I'm sorry, they're going to take advantage of you because they're going to make you overwork and they're going to give you more work. And then you're going to do it. Why? Because you're so used to doing all the work because you're trying to prove yourself. And so that's what they do. What happens when you're good at knocking out a lot of work? They give you more. And everyone else is just chilling, but you're drowning in work. And you're going to have anxiety. You're going to burn out. You're going to be underpaid. It's going to affect your relationships. You're going to start treating yourself poorly, others poorly. So setting boundaries is number one.
Mm-hmm.
Understanding where the hell that boundary is, technically that's number one. Actually going and doing it is number two.
Yeah. Well said.
Be cautious of the people that you keep yourself around. You show me the people that you keep around you, I'll show you who you are.
Yeah.
Show you who you are. That's it.
It was amazing.
I'm done. Okay.
Both of you are amazing. Thank you both so much for doing this show. I appreciate it so much.
This episode of Floaties for Krakens was written and recorded by me, Camille Maria Costa. A monstrous thank you to Spencer and Dr. Naz for such a thought-provoking interview. A big thank you to Michael Kosman for producing a stellar episode, and a huge thank you to Natalie Hedberg for designing such a phenomenal logo. And music for the show was also written and produced by me, with a special appearance by my tata, Toby Acosta. Thank you all so much for tuning into today's show. It truly means everything to me. If you have questions or curiosities about the research or media referenced in today's episode, everything will hopefully be in the description box. And you can find us on our website and our socials, links in the description as well. Anyway, thanks again for being here, everyone. And just a reminder, it's okay to be afraid of the monster, but it's also okay to love the heck out of it too. Keep being monstrous and keep shining bright.